Standard right now is basically the Wild West. You can play a plethora of different strategies and have a reasonable amount of success, but now I think I may have helped break Standard wide open with a new brew. This is a competitive Standard deck list, so if you're looking to go undefeated at F&M or Magic Arena or Magic Online, this might be the deck for you. You can see the list in the description, and I'll be streaming this deck at twitch.tv/wedge right when the video uploads. So join me and see just how awesome it is. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, remember hit that like button, it helps out a lot. You can call this deck Esper Super Friends or Esper Control or Esper Taking Turns. Whichever you choose, you'll have more fun than I can possibly describe. The deck revolves around one thing, chaining Nexus of Fate forever. Surrounding it with an Esper shell is a new innovation, and I honestly think it's just better than the Jeskai version. Let's go step by step on how we're going to chain this bad boy to eternity and beyond. For this deck to work, we need to draw lots of cards turn after turn, emptying our library, making it more and more likely we draw Nexus of Fate. We're running both Treasure Map and Search for Azcanta. We still live in a control versus aggro world, and these early drops are fantastic at helping you get the answers you need for anything you're against. Search for Azcanta has additional value when it flips as a land that helps you pseudo-tutor for Nexus of Fate, practically guaranteeing you always see one when your library size starts to dwindle. Control players have been back and forth on Revitalize for some time, but I think it's one of the best cantrips in Standard right now, especially since it serves a triple purpose. It replaces itself, it gains life, which saves you turns against the aggressive decks, and it sits in your graveyard, adding to Azcanta's count to make it flip. This is everything we want in a deck designed to stall until it can get the Nexus loop online. And while Opt isn't a life gain cantrip, it is amazing at digging. 1 mana to see 2 cards and replaces itself at instant speed. Every single blue control deck should be running this card. If players aren't, I firmly believe that's a mistake. This thing is bonkers, adds to the Azcanta count, and is cheap as heck. Remember when I said you could call this deck Super Friends? Yeah, we're starting with a playset of Teferi. I know, you're probably sick of seeing Teferi around, but the guy's way too good not to play in any control deck, but especially in this one. Teferi draws a card, and then sometimes he untaps lands at the end of the turn, giving you just enough mana to cast Nexus of Fate and start the loop. The value that Teferi provides is unparalleled in the entire Standard format. This deck is truly competitive thanks to Teferi. We're also running 2 Karn, Scion of Urza. I firmly believe this is one of the most underplayed cards in Standard right now. Players have been moving away from Karn a little bit, and I have no idea why. Karn, Scion of Urza is a complete boss in this strategy. Since you're going to be taking so many turns, using his +1 never hurts. If your opponent exiles something that you want, you're probably going to get it the next turn, and even if you don't, that's 2 cards out of your deck, making it more likely to draw Nexus. Also, Karn functions as a win condition when you're looping Nexus, creating artifact tokens that get gigantic real quick. Now, my spiciest add to this deck, Tezzeret Artifice Master. I think it's time for this man to shine. Tezzeret is actually outrageous here. In addition to being a win con by massing 1/1 Thopters, his 0 is broken. Think about it. We're running Karn so we get constructs, and we're running Treasure Map, which makes treasure tokens just enough to trigger Tezzeret's 0 clause, letting us draw 2 cards for legit no cost at all. I don't know why Tezzeret isn't being run more, but this dude is legit insane. Here are all the walkers together. I can't count the number of times I've had them all out on the battlefield at the same time. Add an active Azcanta to that, look at this setup. You can Karn away 2 cards, Teferi +1, Tezzeret 0, and Azcanta. You'll find Nexus, but I know what you might be thinking. Getting 3 walkers seems unlikely. Yeah, it isn't thanks to Nexus. Even if you don't go infinite with Nexus right away, I cast it just for the heck of it. Every cast of Nexus is card advantage. It's additional land drops over your opponent, it's searching for answers. By the time you cast Nexus of Fate even once or twice randomly, you're far enough ahead that you can start dropping these threats and locking your opponent out of the game. Between Opt, Revitalize, Treasure Map, Search for Azcanta, Karn, Teferi, Tezzeret, and Chemister's Insight, obviously in here, you have so much card draw that thinning your deck is easy as pie. This may seem slow against a meta full of nonsense aggressive decks, but that's actually the reason the deck works so well. We're running Moment of Craving for that early life gain and kill spell. The tempo shift of a single Moment of Craving is usually enough to let you live 2 turns more than you should have. Now the real reason we're running black over red in this deck, Ritual of Soot and Vraska's Contempt. Ritual of Soot is just better than Clarion right now. It deals with wild growth walkers at any level, Enigma Drakes that are now more popular than ever. It gets around Tajik, any buffed mentor nonsense, you get my point. With the meta the way it is now, Ritual of Soot is the place to be. Now Vraska's Contempt, this is just gravy on this deck to be honest, deals with other planeswalkers we don't like, exiles Niv-Mizzet really well, and even against aggressive decks is more life gain. You can never say no to life gain, great reward for working to include Moment of Craving and Ritual of Soot. What a nice removal suite we have have here, and definitely the reason black is just better than red for this type of strategy. Obviously, Disruption's really annoying, so we're running Syncopate, Negate, and Spell Pierce. I played with a lot of iterations, and this was definitely the best one. I understand the draw to more counter spells like Sinister Sabotage, but we don't have the mana flexibility for that. We're basically never worried about creatures being cast, so those aren't issues. Not worried about enchantments much either. It's Disruption we don't like. These counters are as cheap as we need them to be. They can help us win counter wars on our good cards and are efficient as heck. Then we have Cleansing Nova. This is one of the most versatile cards in the deck and actually replaced the Eldest Reborn in the main because it was so impactful. We have a load of enchantment nonsense running around right now, and while I don't consider it to be a huge issue, Cleansing Nova does wipe away Disinformation Campaign, Treasure Map, the Eldest Reborn, Divine Visitation, Experimental Frenzy, and so much more. Not even counting the fact that it's just a good creature board wipe too. Nice Swiss Army knife against the format right now. This card is usable against most strategies, and having a single one in a deck like this is perfect. We draw so many cards. If we need it, we usually find it. Since we don't have Hallowed Fountain and Godless Shrine yet, you'd think the mana was bad, but I fine-tuned it as good as it can be tuned. Playsets of Watery Grave, Isolated Chapel, Glacial Fortress, and Drowned Catacombs are joined by 3 islands, 3 plains, and 3 swamps, 25 lands in total. This deck may not look tuned, but it is. You aren't necessarily playing a normal game of Magic. You obviously want to remove threats early, keep things off the board, but with this strategy in particular, thanks to Nexus of Fate, you are truly never out of the game until that last point of life is taken away. You can always come back from any situation as long as you can cast spells. Nexus of Fate, Teferi, Tezzeret, Karn, Search for Azcanta, Treasure Map, Opt, Revitalize. This deck exists to find your answers at a moment's notice. It exists to throw Hail Marys and somehow always succeed. That's why I'm streaming this deck. You have to see this for yourselves. It's beautiful. You want a sideboard? I'll give you a sideboard. Sorcerer's Spyglass is one of my favorite sideboard cards right now. It wrecks other planeswalkers, Azcanta land, Treasure Map, Banner at Adanto Vanguard, the Adanto land. Versatile card. I also run Duress, more Negate, and more Spell Pierce against control decks. The main deck has a lot of aggro hate in it, so it's important to have enough sideboard space to take out all of it and replace them with relevant cards. Fungal Infection is amazing against mono red. Golden Demise is necessary against token strategies or mono white aggro that goes super wide. Kills Hysteria Benalia tokens really well. Then Thief of Sanity comes in against other control decks because they'll take out most of their removal. Ixalan's Binding is real good against anything that isn't super aggressive. And finally, the Eldest Reborn is one of the better sideboard options because soon as game 2 hits, you know your opponents are gonna bring in Walker Hate. And depending on what you're against, you'll have room to bring in the Reborn based on what you remove. I promise this deck is a ton of fun. I've been playing with it for a while constantly, and as soon as Arena Rank started the other day, I've gone from Bronze 5, where they place you, all the way to Platinum 4, with my current record being 105 wins and 58 losses. That win rate is absurd and mixed between best of 1 and best of 3. Please click the link in the description to check out the deck list and tune into the stream at twitch.tv/wedge, where I'll be jamming this list for some time. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. This video is brought to you by TCGplayer.com. Tezzeret Artifice Master is one of the bombs in this deck, and he's only $5 right now, mainly because no one's figured out how to bust him yet, but I definitely did. If you're at all interested in this deck, Tezzeret's a great buy right now at that price point. Don't miss out on this crazy nonsense. Click the link on the screen, helps the channel, you get awesome cards, we all win, enjoy.
Wow.